Man, on this grungy Monday episode, we're talking about judging SEO success, fake reviews, and being my own boss.
This is the 8E8 Dental Marketing Show with your host, Joshua Scott.
Hey everybody, what's up and welcome to the 88 Dental Marketing Show. This is the internet's only dental show that's answering marketing's most important questions. That's what we do. You can believe that. This is episode number 38. I am your host, Joshua Scott. Man, we're back on a kind of a grungy Monday morning. This is the look you get, man, after a few weeks of a lot of travel and traveling over the weekend. So Monday morning came and it was just like, shave for the show? I don't think so. So this is grungy Monday. The Brooklyn hat, the no shave. I mean, I got the Dunkin' Donuts coffee sitting on the desk. So you could tell, man, if this is your first episode and you're just joining us, you're like, whoa. Yeah, this is a Monday morning. But man, excited for the show. Wanted to be here because it's been 2 weeks off. The last 2 weeks, like I mentioned, have just really been crazy. I mean, probably, arguably, the two busiest weeks of the year for me. And we threw Thanksgiving into that mix, which makes it a short week to begin with. And so, and honestly, I'll tell you what, man, we just had a nasty loss from the Ohio State Buckeyes right before Thanksgiving to Michigan State. That was just a tough one. And I think myself, like so many people here in Columbus, were probably, man, we were just salty for a while. I remember that Monday morning, like, should I do a show? And I was like, man, I don't even care about the show no more. like clients, I don't know. You know, I got to call people this week. I got to see people. Like, we'll just reschedule all that junk. Because that was how I felt from like Saturday night to probably up until about Thanksgiving. Just kind of shook me out of that funk. But that's just how it went. It was like this amazingly disappointing end to what should have been a really unbelievable season. So man, just being real, just giving you some honest looks. But that's been the last few weeks. I mean, the Buckeyes lost Thanksgiving, an insane travel schedule. I mean, Friday morning, my alarm went off at 3:30. I hit the bed in Charleston that night at like 12:30. And then, Saturday traveling. And so it's just been like that. And so voice is a little bit rough, chest cold kind of over the weekend, getting over that. So, but man, all that aside, wanted to get in. We've got 2 shows left for the year. This is episode 38. Next week is episode 39. We've got it planned. And then I'm out for Christmas. So that last week of Christmas, first week of New Year's, taking some time off to slow down and enjoy the holiday. So we'll be back into it at the beginning of the year, maybe some different things, trying to mix it up. I think we're going to have some fun with it, so look forward to it. Last piece of news, because I know this intro is getting long, and you guys have been calling me out on that, which I appreciate. But yeah, new article out this month for December, featured article, The Future of Search. So I'm going to hit that down below in the show notes as a link. Hit it up. Really good article that we saw some really subtle changes in search since August. And some subtle, some not so subtle, but they are going to have major impacts. A major impact down the road in the future. And so some of my predictions there, kind of 3 predictions that I think we're going to start seeing more and more of, that's really going to change a lot of the industry, a lot of the SEO industry. And I think it's for the best. So man, that's it. Got some questions today, some good ones. So let's get into the show.
Our first question is from Ryan Arnold. How do you judge SEO success?
Ryan, this is a good question, and I brought this one in because I've seen this a few times here in the last few months. And what I mean is I've seen practices that have built websites, and honestly, decent websites. I mean, one of them was outstanding, probably one of the best websites I've seen lately. I mean, the last few years. So they did an awesome job, but these websites were not built with SEO in mind. And so now they're in a position where it's like they're looking at it and they're like, oh, we're not getting the results. We're not making the progress we thought we were going to make on SEO. And when I look at it, I'm like, well, yeah, there's this, and this. And some of it's real obvious stuff to me that communicates there's a lot of back end issues as well. Like if they didn't get the obvious stuff right, like titling, then there's probably some back end stuff that's just getting missed as well. And so my biggest advice is when you get into a website project, it's so important to talk about the SEO strategy and to hire a company that knows what they're doing with SEO, because otherwise you just end up with a pretty site and it's a pretty site that nobody can find. And then you're frustrated and you maybe spend a lot of money that's really, in a sense, just wasted. So how would you judge progress, right? Like you built the site, the website company is telling you, oh, we just need time. And you're like, yeah, but how do I judge that, right? So probably a few things there. Number one is implementing best practices. So we know that when it comes to SEO, everybody says, well, the Google algorithm is so mysterious, nobody really knows, right? Yes, but we have established best practices. And so implementing those best practices, is your website company doing that stuff? I mean, there's really a list of things that you can go through when you're talking about just on-site SEO, optimizing that. And so what is it that they're doing? Are they checking all those boxes of this is what we know to be best practice? Okay, so that's number one. Number two is progress. What's the progress? You're like, well, I don't know. I'm not on page one. And I'm like, yeah, but look, if the website didn't exist, you're not going to go from non-existent to page one. I mean, that's just almost like rule number one of Google's algorithm is nobody makes that jump, okay? They're just not going to allow it. So if your website has never existed and then you end up after a few months on page 5, that's progress. You know what I'm saying? So and then a few months later, you're up on the page 4. That's progress. We're moving in the right direction. And so some of it's just watching that. And where are you? I mean, we've taken clients that literally did not have a website in the last few years, which is hard to believe, but they start, it's like they show up on page 5 and now one of them 2 years later is at the bottom of page 1. And so how are we judging that success? Is it to be at the top? Not necessarily. It's progress. I mean, the ultimate long-term goal is number 1, but we're moving in the right direction. And so those are some things there. And then last I would tell you is just patience. I mean, it's just patience. We don't evaluate much SEO, just progress, success outside of 6-month periods. Meaning if you just launch a site, you're not really getting good data till about 6 months into it. And then maybe the other 6 months. We just have to understand Google has set this up so people cannot hack it. And so there are kind of parameters involved to prevent you from moving too quick. And we have to know that and just judge it in 6-month periods of time. After 6 months, where are we? The next 6 months, where are we? The next 6 months, where are we? So, man, that would be my advice, but really, really great question. Keep that in mind, all you guys who are getting ready to build websites. Ask those questions up front.
Question number 2 comes from Crystal. Do you ever see fake reviews and how do you deal with them?
So, fake reviews, this is definitely something that we're seeing more of. And here's kind of the background, right? We used to, when it came to SEO, we used to have this term out there that we would call black hat SEO tactics, right? And it was kind of it was all the hackers. It was all the people that were like, oh, we can hack Google's algorithm and create amazing SEO results and get you up on the first page faster and quicker and all this stuff. And so, link farming and just all these things, black hat SEO, right? As Google's algorithm has become more sophisticated and closed out, closed those loopholes and kept out so many of the hackers, right? Google's actually, they're winning that game now. Whereas before they weren't so much. They are now, for sure. Some of this black hat stuff is moving over to reviews because that's the hot spot for it right now. And so anybody who comes to you and says, hey, we can get you, 100 Google reviews, or they can promise, all these Google reviews from patients, man, you just can't believe it. I mean, there's no other way to gain reviews other than just putting in the work and asking patients to do it, period. So any company out there that comes to you and says they can turn in all these, all these testimonials into reviews, don't believe them. But the one interesting thing I'm seeing, because I've seen it probably 3 times in the last few months, is we walk into a practice and there's this negative review, right? But it's not just like a negative review. It's like a weird negative review. It's like, this person's not a patient. And the review is written kind of just off a little bit. Like the English is off a little bit, right? Like they're either from a foreign country or this is a computer. And so I've seen these. And what's so interesting is at the same time, they're getting a call, an email from a company that's like, we're a reputation management system company. Have you had negative reviews that are hurting the business of your practice? Call us to take, it's that whole kind of thing. And I'm like, you think that's a coincidence? Because it's not, And so if you see a fake review like that is fake, there's a few ways to handle it. And the first one, my general rule with reviews, always respond to it. And you're like, but it's not even real. They're not even a patient. Listen, I know, but respond to it in a way where it's, hey, Mr. Smith, we're not showing you as a patient of this practice. However, if you had a bad experience here, we're extremely apologetic for that and would love to make it right in any way possible. And it's just addressing it in a way that sheds some light on, this is not a patient of ours. We don't know who this guy is. And so you put that in the minds of people that are seeing that, and you just deal with it. And so it just kind of gives them a heads up like, this is a fake review, okay? That, and then the last thing is just report it. Report it to Google, report it to Yelp. A lot of those guys have these kind of spam filters. They're seeing these, they know. And it may not be a quick process like today or a few weeks, but within a month or 2 months, a lot of times they'll remove those. They'll run it through their filter. They'll be like, yep, this is spam, and they'll pull it off. So that's how I would deal with fake reviews. But we're definitely seeing a lot more of them.
Our third question is from Ted Bell. What have you learned being your own boss?
Ted, man, I appreciate the question. Just kind of bringing some of the personal side into it. Man, I love being my own boss. So much fun, probably the most fun I've had in my professional life. But it was interesting. I was thinking about this last week, this question, just with some of the travel, and I started kind of writing down some of the things I've learned being my own boss. And it ended up, I got this list of kind of 8 things I have learned being my own boss, and just thought I'd bring them on the show and share them with you guys, because all you business owners out there can maybe relate to these at some level. But the first thing I've learned is I now work for the most demanding boss I've ever had in my entire life. And that's true. It's just, he yells at me if I don't get up by 6 a.m. and if I quit work before 6 p.m. I mean, he's just in my face about it, and it's just relentless. It never quits. And, there's just part of that where it's like my expectations and level of drive and perfection. I've had some difficult bosses in the past, believe me, and I beat them, which I don't know if I'm proud of, I'm ashamed of, or what. Number 2, panic attacks. Man, I learned about panic attacks. Are we going to make payroll this week? And so if if you're not a business owner, like me, people will talk about panic attacks and I'd be like, oh, you're just being dramatic. I pretty much learned that panic attacks are a real thing. So that was number 2. Number 3, the lows are low, but the highs are higher. And probably compared to any other time in my professional life, man, the lows get lower, but the highs, the successes are fun. They're sweet. They're higher because you own it, and you have full responsibility there. Number 4, panic attacks. What if we never get another client ever? Those things. Number 5, busyness does not equal value. And that's been a massively hard lesson for me, coming from my position before this, where so much of value was related to your schedule and your busyness, and really being okay with that, of having some weeks where it's a down week and it's slow, and not freaking out because I should be busy with something. And so that's been a huge lesson. Number 6, it never stops. There's never enough time. Even when I remember this time earlier in the year when I had knee surgery and I was off for a few weeks, and I was just knocking out projects, like creative stuff that had built up, and it's just like boom, 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 and getting ahead on so many things. At the end of that 2-week period of time, I still felt like I didn't get enough done. And it was a very eye-opening moment of, there's never enough time. I mean, there just really isn't. So we can't play that game. There has to be another metric to judge success and value by, and it's not time. So number 7, panic attacks. We need to hire people. We need office space. We need. Yeah, you just come to realize, like, you've got to figure out how to manage that and manage emotions, because those will happen for sure. And last, number 8, I now have permission to put the most important things first. And so, whether that's taking my kids to school or picking them up or prioritizing holidays and birthdays and things like that. Before, there would be times, I remember trying to schedule off. We had a conference over Halloween, and I was going to be up in Chicago, and making the point to my boss of, I can't travel on Halloween. And he's kind of looking at me like, dude, it's Halloween. Like, this isn't Christmas. And I'm like, I know, but my kids are only young once. And I can only I've got Halloween with kids in costumes for a very short period of time. And so I don't want to be in Chicago for that. And so it's given me permission to put the most important things first, which I think has been huge. And again, when busyness doesn't equal value, then you can free yourself to do that stuff. So, guys, episode 38. It's been a good one. Don't know how wanted to just share with you kind of the personal side of it. Don't know if you appreciate that or not, man. If you enjoyed it, just give me some comments, like yes, no. Should I just stick with questions? But that's been the ride this year. So, homework for the episode, question of the episode: how many reviews? Oh man, got cut off by the camera there. Which means this episode's getting long. I'm gonna wrap it up, guys. Homework for the show, question for the show: how many reviews do you have from this year? Just look back. I mean, you should have a handle on how many you gained, and what are you on track for? I mean, where does that put you next year, 2 years, 3 years? Are you catching up to people in your area? Are you getting behind? What's the competition like? So that's the homework. Guys, as always, it's been a pleasure. Thanks so much for being here, and really appreciate you. I'll catch you next week on episode 39.